Good morning again. This is Joshua Taylor coming to you from the North Bend School in North Bend. You can see the little community garden back there. And my dog Max is down there. He's enjoying the shade. This video is going to be on what we can do now, or what it's going to take to prepare. And I just like to use North Bend as an example because the Lord brought me here for the first time in the summer of 1975. He sent me with a people who had a spirit of community. They worked together. The Lord's used the Foreman family to do exploits. When the 1967 war happened, they prayed, and the Lord led them up to Squamish on the north side of up by Whistler, things like that. They lived for a year and a half at, I think it was 5,400 feet at an old mining camp. They lived there for a year and a half, and kids were born up there. But they went up there because they thought that the 1967 war was the time that God was bringing in the end times. And I grew up with these people, okay? So the Lord's given me a good foundation. Right now, like Dave Foreman's passed on, but his vision still lives in my heart. It's never gone away. I've always had a vision for community. And if you take a look at this town here, where the Lord brought me many years ago, the people are nice people, and there's more of a working together here than what you would see in the city, more laid back. And that's what it's going to take, folks. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take a people waking up and meeting the needs of each other. And you can only do that by coming together in a spirit of community. Going to church once or twice or 3 times a week is not going to do it. If you do go to church, well, I'll just give you an example of where God's going. There is a brother. He's passed on now for a couple of years or so. I forget his name. Lived in 100 Mile. And the Lord, back in the late 50s or early 60s, raised him up. Gave him a church in I believe it was Seattle. The Lord took an old abandoned building, and by the moving of the Holy Spirit, the carpenters and the plumbers and everybody came, fixed the building up, and for 10 years, that the manifest presence of God, the very glory of God, the Shekinah glory of God, was visible in and over that church for 10 years. And he didn't minister. What he did do, he made sure that the needs of the people were met. And he used to take the people that says, those of you that got needs this week, come up here, line up against the wall. Then he would ask those that, this church had 10,000 members at its peak. A lot of rich people ended up going there, and he used to call the rich those that had money. He says, you line up over against that wall. Now, you take out your wallets and you go meet the needs of your brothers and sisters. This is what it's going to take, folks. And the church is not doing this. They are not keeping the love of God. They're walking in denial. They're building their own lives, right? They're building their own lives. It's more than going out into the highways and byways and bringing people in for the Lord. But how can you do that when you got no witness? When you got no witness, when the love of God is not manifest in your life? By your actions. You can say you love God, but Paul says, show me by your works. The early church lived this way. They lived a life of community. They lived together. They ate together. They prayed together. They made sure that all the needs of the people were met first. And that freed up the hands of the apostles, they had a base where they could come and go. They had a place where they could come and go. Community is a place where God's going to raise up prophets and apostles in today's time, where they're going to have a home base where they can come and go and do the work of the Lord. The Lord's raised me up as a prophet. I've known since the late 80s. The Lord said that the revelation of Jesus Christ is for you. You're ordained to walk, to become a manifested Son of God. It's on my path. And so I know my destiny. Like the Lord's called me to bring forth the spirit of community in the people, to develop community, to get people working together. And to do this, we really need to live on the same land. And if we live our independent lives, the time will come where you won't be able to afford food, you won't be able to afford gas to put in your car to go to work. There may be no work. And inflation may get so high. I've seen inflation at 600% in this country before destruction came, the final end of the west coast of Vancouver. And right now you might be making it by, but the time is coming very quickly that you will not. What are you going to do when gas is $20 a liter? Right? You'd be working your 60, 70 hours a week, and it's not going to meet the needs of your family. So that means that we need to come together. We need to stop playing church and get down where it's real, live together, meet the needs of our own people, right? The church needs to meet the needs of the church. And, without saying, well, I want $20 an hour for chopping that wood over there. If we lived together in community, you don't have to worry about that. You just go do what you need to do to meet the needs of other people without quibbling, without arguing. That's the love of God. And that prepares us, people. That prepares us to go out into the highways and byways. But now the world looks at the church. They're so hypocritical. They're so into themselves. They don't see how blind they are. They don't realize how deaf they are. They're reading the word, but it's not going into their heart to bring forth fruit. And the fruit is the spirit of community. And if we're not bringing that forth, we have little reward. Sadhu Sundar Selvaraj, I just seen this last night. He recently spoke to a church. You know what he told them? He said, you're not ready for the coming of Jesus Christ. You are not ready. The entire church was desolate. No fruit. And that goes for the majority of the churches across America and Canada. No fruit. Very little fruit. Rotten fruit. They're not bringing forth a pleasant smell to the Lord. So to prepare for the times that we're in, that climate change, that the 5 waves of energy, that's going to cause the coming pole shift. It's going to cause all the seals to be opened. We need to prepare for that time, and we can only do it. We can only do it by realizing that we are not an island unto ourselves, that we need to come together in the spirit of community. In this town here, it's a beautiful town. Now, if people took the next step, and instead of saying, well, I really need some work, it might be legitimate, right? And there's a lot of people here, they use their talents and abilities to generate a little extra income. It's mostly retired community. There's no more mill here. So there's nothing wrong with that. But, if people took the next step and just went door to door, says, started visiting their neighbor. Do you have a need? Do you need someone to talk to? Uh, you know where I'm getting at. Do you need your wood chopped? Uh, do you have any spiritual needs? Do you have any physical needs? Can I pray for you? Right? You can go up to anybody on the street and says, "Well, can I pray for you? Do you have a need? Do you have a spiritual need? Do you have a saved one that has to come in or something?" Right? And this is what we ought to be doing, to be open to this. And that's preparing us for the move of God. But this move of God is not going to come unless the spirit of community comes first, where we open our hearts and realize that we've been bought with a price, and we are not here to live our own lives. We are here to allow Jesus to be glorified in and through us. And that only comes by learning to love Him first, right? Pressing into His Word, prayer, intercession, and reaching out to others to where there is no need. In a community, there is no needs, because the needs of the people are met. And if there is needs, then the people can manifest. They can pray in whatever needs that they can't meet. God will meet those needs. In this third video, I'm going to come to you on a plan, a very simple plan, and how this can be done, where the spirit of community can be established. All right? The Lord's given me the divine insight and the blueprints for this. Right? And this has been my walk for 30 years. And He's about to bring me on the scene. Not just to bring forth the spirit of the community, but to bring the sword. He's making me, the Lord told me yesterday through a sister, the sister see me as the right arm of God, whatever that means. But I know that the Lord's raised me into a high position of power, and where I'm going to be carrying His authority. And if you get in the way, you're going to die. Simple as that. God's not going to put up with the shit that's in the church no longer. He's going to begin turning over tables, even if it costs, even if He has to remove people out of the way. And He has given me a mission field, and it's not going to be Abbotsford at this time. Abbotsford is in a state of denial. The churches are in a state of denial. They're not ready for revival yet. They're not repenting. And so God's going to shake them up good. He's going to really shake them up in order to wake them up so they can repent, so that a move of God can come forth. But God has another plan and another plot that He's going to send me. And I'll share this in the third video. But folks, we need to wake up and realize who we are. Realize that Jesus needs to be our first and our foremost in our lives, right? He needs to be our all in all. And we're not just to look after our own needs. We are to look after the needs of the body first. That's where it starts.